with Flower Moxie, and today I'm going to teach you how to build a foam-free cascading bouquet. So first off, if our videos help you in any way, it really helps if you hit the like and subscribe button. Feel free to leave any comments, any requests, I love them. Okay, so I'm going to give you the spoiler alert of the basic way we do this. For starters, it's about the material that you choose, so you need to pick things that naturally want to flow. So for greenery, I really love Italian Ruscus. It's probably my favorite when it comes to this. If you want to go in a heavier green, with a heavier green vibe, I would say eucalyptus is really nice because seeded, silver dollar, it tends to be floppier and it will drape. Secondly, you need some linear flowers, so something like Delphinium, which we're going to use today. Come on, here we go. So we have some Delphinium, I have some stock, and then we need thin stemmed items, things that are going to be a little bit bouncy. And for that, I would normally go for mini Carnations and Lisianthus. I got the mini Carns, but they didn't have the Lisianthus color I wanted, so I snagged some butterfly Ranunculus, which I don't sell right now. I may sell it later. It's kind of more sensitive, so that's why I'm nervous about doing that. Okay, so, and then the second thing after it comes to the material, it's all about how you hold the bouquet. So generally with a traditional bouquet, you're gonna hold it more vertical and you'll hold it against your body in this way. When it comes to a foam-free cascading bouquet, you're going to hold it horizontal against your body, which means we're gonna cut those stems really short and it's gonna spill down. Now, this look is not going to be what you would see, in those like 50 era style bouquets. What they did there was they would wire each individual piece of all the florals, all the greenery, and then you'd have this little bitty handle and then it would spill down. And so that's not something that anybody has time to do anymore. And then, those flowers, they can't be in water. Then came the 80s and we got that traditional slanted foam bouquet holder. And that, I still have to use it if my client wants something really hardcore cascading in that very strong traditional look with very heavy florals and roses pointing downwards. That's not something that we can achieve with the method that I'm going to show you. So in that case, I would need to reach for that foam bouquet holder, but it's not my preference. And the reason why I think that this is a more superior method is because, I don't like to use foam in general. It's not eco-friendly. You have to use floral glue, and it's really best to make it the day of the wedding. And so when you're DIYing, that can be pretty stressful, and there isn't as much foam real estate. So you kind of have to really carefully place things because when you run out of room in that foam ball, you're done. So I really love this. I don't get to do it a lot, so I'm a little nervous, just like you're probably going to be slightly nervous, but we're going to shake all that off. First of all, if you do use Italian Ruscus and it's like really straight and it's not bending, this naturally had some curve, and most of the time it does, but you can train it. So I was prepared to get this in and create a loop and just get a little stem tape or bind wire just to help create that curve. But it had a really nice shape and I didn't need to do that, but that's a little tip. Okay, let's get started. To start, we're gonna relax. That's really, really important when it comes to building a bridal bouquet. It's easy to get in your head, and I wish I was one of those like really artistic, creative people where nothing's wrong, there are no rules. But unfortunately, while I am creative and I'm slightly artistic, I get stuck in my head, and as a new florist, that happens to me all the time. And I know with DIY brides, it happens. So first, we're just gonna relax. And we're not gonna worry about it because we're gonna go slow, nice and easy, and it's gonna come together. So I've got some Quicksand Roses, and how we're gonna start is we're gonna build the top and the base, and at the end we're going to bring in those parts that are going to cascade. And it's not going to look like a cascade until the very end because it's all about how you hold it and how short you cut those stems. So we're not gonna get our panties in a bunch. I've got this Quicksand Rose, and one other thing is I have a mirror right here, which I highly depend on when I'm building bouquets in general, especially Cascade. So we're going to start layering in our heavier flowers and then bringing in the bouncier ones. So I've got Quicksand Rose, a blush carnation, and I'm going to do my best to try to go in that spiral method. I don't want a lot of stress on these stems. So, and I'm gonna build in a horizontal way, not a vertical way, which actually is kind of nice. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so we're just gonna start layering in some things, and we're gonna channel, our favorite art teacher that, had frizzy hair and wore big linen tunics and necklaces, and we're just gonna relax through this process. Got a little spray rose. And I think it's about creating that garden feel. So we need some movement. We need those thin stemmed items to give us a little bit of movement and bounce. So I'm looking to see where I'm at. And I have been dying to use this like fatty ranunculus. Okay, so I'm still kind of coming in on that spiral method because I don't want to put that stress on my stems. I've got some blue Tweedia here, and then I'm going to start adding in those bouncy items because that really makes a difference. And I'm looking in that mirror, and so far I like what I see. I can easily adjust something if I don't like it. And let's grab some thinner items that have a little bit more bounce and give to it, because that will help that bouncy, light, airy feeling. Because it's about creating something overall that's gonna flow. If we just had a mass of thicker, heavier flowers up top, and then we tried to like cascade dainty ones down, it would look maybe disjointed. And so that's where these thin stems are so important. So I've got the butterfly ranunculus, that could be lisianthus, which is what we sell, and I've got these little mini carnations that I love. So these are really great. A lot of people kind of look down their nose at them because it's a mini carnation, but I have really grown to love them. So let's grab some clusters. So I'm looking in that mirror. I'm seeing that I have some balance here that's really nice. I like what I'm seeing. And I know I harp on it so much, but I think I needed someone. I was self-taught. It was a while before I went and took some classes or, went to a workshop. But it's just good to hear to relax, and we're going to be kind to ourselves, and we're not going to be harsh about judging our work. And I think for me, I just wanted that instant gratification. Like if it wasn't looking good, then I felt like it was going bad, and that wasn't the case. So let's see where these guys will work. And I tend to like to do these ones in clusters. See how nice that's looking? So let's bring in a little bit of greenery. I think this might be a little bit too chewy. I think I bought the last of this Silver Queen Pittosporum, and it shattered on me, so that happens. So I got some more variegated. That feels a little bulky. I can always clip it off later. But right now I think it's okay. Got this Tweedia. And just to bring in some softness, let's bring in some of this pennycress, which is also called Lepidium. I'm really liking this greenery, so I think we'll start selling it soon. It does get a little droopy, and that mirror makes all of the difference. So I'm coming around kind of at the bottom, and I'm finding a place for it. I might adjust these a little bit, but I'm not stressing too much about that right now. So this is my top, and I have to think, you know, she's gonna hold it about like this. So I'm gonna zhuzh up that top, probably more towards the end, but maybe I can start bringing in those bottom pieces. Okay, so let's start by getting a little bit of greenery. And instead of, you know, building from the top, I'm coming on the underneath, and I'm looking in the mirror at where I'm at with this. And maybe I'm gonna have some greenery to start with as kind of a foundational element. And what I'm trying to avoid is it looking too bulky. So like when I look at this, I feel that this piece of greenery is just too visually heavy. So I can cut it apart, or maybe I can just find different placement for it. So I feel this is a really great opportunity, and I can always come in with snips and snip it down. But I'm liking this soft feeling that I have. So let's start bringing the softness and the bounciness towards the bottom. So I'm gonna come in with these butterfly ranunculus, and see how I'm just letting it stick out. So if you don't like building in this horizontal method, another way is build it vertical, and then basically you're gonna have this awkward tall side. But just to keep the shape and pay attention to what I'm doing, I'm gonna hold it in the horizontal way. So I'm coming in with these clusters. See how this little cascade is starting to take shape? And this is why what you select makes such a difference. So I've got this Delphinium. I'm gonna need to pull a lot of it off. And this is where I get really mindful of my stems. So what I don't want to do is come in and have this pressure on this stem. See how that would be a lot? So I'm coming in at an angle and I'm grabbing it with my finger. So it is kind of spirally, like it's on the outside and it's not being pressed down by the other stems, because you don't want to, you know, build this in such a way that you end up breaking your stems because of misplacement. So let's see if I can do the same with some Tweedia. So that feels a little dense. I'm going to maybe place it over here. So it's not a perfect spiral, but again, what I don't want to do is come in and put all this pressure on the stem, because eventually once you keep layering things in, it will break on you. And that's so annoying and frustrating. See this mini carnation. Let's bring this peach down. And I'm using this mirror to look and see like how visually weighty it is. So I think I need to parse this down a little bit. So I'll pull this guy off. And you know me, you don't want to throw anything away. And I often have to switch hands. But I hold it with my dominant hand. Well, wait. No, I grab with my right, which is my dominant hand, hold it with my left. Okay, so we've got some white stock. So when we bring in one linear flower, it's helpful for it to have a buddy. Stock is a little bit heavier than the Delphinium, so I may not like it, but I think it could work. Here's the thing. when you add something, if it is like obstructing the view of another flower, or if it's like you could take it away and not lose anything, like if it's not really bringing much to the table, then just take it out altogether. So I like that stalk right here. I wasn't sure about it on the cascading because it's a little bit denser, and that goes back to, see? And I don't think that it's wrong, but I don't think it adds anything to what I'm doing. So maybe I can kind of pull it off to the side. All right. So now I'm gonna do a little bit of adjusting. It helps to hold it up vertically. So I'm wanting to make these a little bit longer. So you see how this is all falling in on itself? It's getting a bit compact. This is not going to be where we end, but it happens as you build. And so we're gonna loosen it up slightly. Usually I say just tweak everything at the end. I feel in building this, I'm a little bit more deliberate. I go slower and I adjust as I go rather than all at the end. So that little adjustment has loosened this up. And sometimes I take my fingers, thread them through the stems and shake it. So see how I created air within this bouquet? And I still have the bounciness. I can pull it out a little bit more. And practice, you know, I don't love the practice makes perfect, but practice does build confidence. And so if you want to go with this method, maybe go drop, you know, 50 to 100 bucks at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods and get some, get a variation of flowers and practice at home with this. Might not be the exact flowers, but you'll get a feel for it. Okay, I'm gonna work on this top a little bit, and then I'm gonna bring in the last pieces. So this one's going a little bit down. I'm okay with that. Since I have a really large rose up top and I have this rose over here, I need to break up that those two really large roses. So that's why the more textural items, the smaller buds, that's when those become important, because roses can be very visually weighty. All right, looking really sweet and soft. I'm loving it. Just kind of trying to see what I have, and I don't want to miss anything. Yeah, I like these guys kind of off to the side. You can bring it in a little bit tighter and more controlled, but I think that if you're gonna go this method, you probably have to like movement and things a little bit freer formed. See if I can. So you would think this would be a good bouncy. It kind of could be, but this is actually really, really large. And it's very thick stemmed. But I can lay it on top so, you know, she can see it and enjoy it. So see what I have going on here? Now I'm looking in the mirror, kind of judging it. This is a little bit tight right here, so I'm gonna try to loosen this up a smidge, bring this rose out. I have a few butterfly ranunculus that got a little trapped. So maybe finding them and adjusting them slightly. Okay, I'm liking it. Okay, let's bring in the cascade. Get excited. So, love this stuff because it's so dainty. See how nice that is? That's just one piece, and I cut it down significantly. One piece. We come up under the bottom. It's hard to add, you're afraid you're gonna drop it. And then I kind of take a look at it and I see where I'm at, and I feel like we can do a little bit more. What we don't want to do, let me show you, is you can get it too bulky with greenery that it looks disjointed and it doesn't have a flow. So I'm gonna try to do that so you can see what to avoid. Honestly, this isn't awful, but we're never going to be able to really just pull those florals down in a really long way like you would with a bouquet holder. So I don't think that this is bad, but I feel that it looks a little bit disjointed for my own personal taste. So for that reason, I'm gonna remove this really long third piece. But I do like the second piece. And let's try to bring the florals down a little bit more. So, and I wanna show you also, see how this rose down here is visually weighty? Let's put it against. That's why I don't wanna take a rose down, because it's just kind of this, you know, ball of petals at the end of the stem, and you're trying to mix it with something light and delicate, and I feel like it breaks up that garden look. So that's why those thin stems and those more linear flowers, I think work a little bit better visually. So now I can put that delphinium there, but I feel like it's being a bit covered. I was about to put that in my mouth. So I'm gonna take off one of the pieces of the Italian Ruscus because I wanna try to bring down a little bit more blue. Let's see if I can do this. And then this piece on the underneath. Let me clean this up a little bit more. And I know they're on the floor, but I will be picking them up later just because those little pieces of Italian Ruscus are really nice for boutonnieres. So I like this. Let's see if I can get a few. You never know when to stop adding things, but I feel like I can get a little bit more. So when it starts getting full like this and it's hard to add to the underneath, you can take it from the top down. Nice. Okay, so I can pull that guy in a little bit tighter. So see, we have some really nice bouncy guys that are flowing downwards, and our stems aren't stressed out. It's not the perfect spiral, it's spirally, and now I just need to do some adjusting. I like where this is at. Okay. Let's talk about how I'm gonna adjust it. I feel like I can use a spray rose there. I told you guys we were gonna take this one nice and slow. So that's a bit much. So one way I can fix that is take off. And maybe we don't need it, maybe we're done. It's really hard to know when you're done. I don't think that's adding anything. So at this point, when I know I'm kind of at the end, but I'm not convinced, I just start holding things in place, and I, basically wonder if I have room for anything else. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping this one up. So it's fallen in on itself a bit, right? I'm going to slap a zip tie on it, but I'm not going to crank it down because I still want to adjust things. I just need to relax my hands and have more movement without being afraid that I'm going to drop the whole thing and mess it up. So I can even pull things out, adjust them slightly. And here I'm going to come back and do what I did earlier, which is the ones that have sunken down, I want to pull them out a little bit more. Be careful when pulling the head of a flower up. When it's a delicate one, like this ranunculus, I will find where that stem is. So I'll kind of wiggle it. I found it in the mix and I push it, because I can't tell you how many times I've grabbed it, pulled it, and then popped the head off of the flower right in my hand. And it's like always my favorite one. It's the prettiest one, and I hate myself for it. And then I just put it in a cake flower pile and move on. Ah, see? But that was just a cushion flower that I didn't care about, but that's what happens. I like preach to you not to do something, do it immediately after and prove myself right. Okay, let's see. So I've pulled it down a little bit more. I'm liking the top, I'm liking the bounciness. I feel like it's dispersed well, but we have nice clusters. I feel like I have a hole right here. What do I do? What do I pick? Let's see. So yeah, I feel like this little mini carnation will thread in really nice. If I can get away with the ranunculus, you know I'm gonna do it. Okay, so in this case, I feel like I have a little bit of a hole and I can just drive this thin stemmed item down into the bouquet, let it catch that loose zip tie. And I had pulled this guy out. All right. So I don't feel like I have a hole. I do feel like I could add another ranunculus or Tweedia. Okay. Gonna add a Tweedia and ranunculus, and I'm gonna stop. So I pretty much have it where I want it, but I would need to add a few more things to fix that hole. So I'm gonna take my zip tie off. I'm going to gently take this Quicksand Rose out. I can just lay it back in. Sometimes twisting things. Having clean stems, I have not preached to you about that. That makes a huge difference. So make sure that your stems are pretty clean. Let's see. What color would look good? I think we can do like a paler colored. Yes, yes, there it is. I just can't really get enough of ranunculus, to be honest. And let's bring you back there. I love it so much. All right, I'm gonna call it done because I can sit and work on this forever. Okay, how you tie it off, you can do a rubber band, you can do a zip tie, stem tape, waterproof floral tape. I think I feel most comfortable with a rubber band or with a zip tie. I'm gonna be careful about this because we know that we're not in a perfect spiral and we know we've got stems going in weird directions. So if you use the zip tie, don't pull it down too hard, because you don't want to bust a stem, especially those linear flowers. So I kind of pull, release my hand a little bit and see how I feel. At this point, this is where the magic happens and we cut things short. Before we do that, look at it one more time, take my fingers into this bouquet, shake it a little bit just to loosen it up because they always like to fall in on themselves. And now we're gonna cut it really short. So I wanna use these flowers for another tutorial. So I probably am not cutting them as short as I would if it was for a wedding. I would probably cut them, you know, a ½ inch to an inch shorter. And you would wrap ribbon. When it comes to Cascade bouquets, I typically won't do a draping ribbon just because I feel that will visually break it up, but she will carry it in this way. And so cutting this shorter is, and to be honest, as a florist, I would probably leave it this length. I would make this the day of or the day before, leave it this length, keep it in a hydration vessel. When I arrived to the venue, I would wrap the ribbon around it, cut it really short, and because she's holding it against her body, so I didn't get anything on my shirt, but hold up just one second, let me. Okay, so what to do when you get to the venue, when to cut it, how to hold it. I would leave the stems a little bit longer so they could sit in, so the entire bouquet could sit in a hydration vessel. When you get to the venue, wrap some ribbon around. And what I would do is take a handkerchief. It's a really nice way to bring in something nostalgic. I have nothing but like a ghetto paper towel to show you what I'm doing here. But ultimately what I would do is take a handkerchief or just a really small square of cloth, and I would, after I cut it really, really short, so I would cut it short, I would take like a handkerchief and I would basically cover my ends. Because when you cut this, you know, it's not that it's just like seeping, you know, water or anything like that, but she's gonna have to hold this up against her body. So we wanna cut it short and then protect her dress, and that's where that little handkerchief will come into play. So that, I didn't think of that, or I would have something other than a paper towel, but you get the idea. And she can always hold it like this, kind of like a baby. But this is a completely foam-free Cascade bouquet. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for the request and just giving me ideas of what to teach you guys. Thank you so much.